those are 5 things that may or may not apply to you that I didn't learn at orientation that were frustrating for me. If you're coming from the US, get that 8802 form in early and put somebody's address who lives in the US. That way they can get the 6166 form for you, easy peasy, while you're over in Korea. Number 2, a Google Voice, and use a VPN service. That way you can talk to homies back home as if you were in the US, all for free. Number 3, download a copy of your textbook, put it on a flash drive and carry it with you class to class. That way you don't have to worry about online internet issues. Number 4, order a taxi on Kakao Taxi without having to pay with a credit card in the app. You can swipe over, click pay to driver, pay cash, and I think they can take foreign credit cards most of the time. And number 5, if your name on your ARC has 2 lines, you have to put a dash when verifying your identity at the point where your name is broken onto those 2 lines. Hello, they cover a lot at EPIK orientation, answer a ton of questions, but these are 5 things that I had to learn here kind of on the fly or through word of mouth from other teachers, and hopefully you'll do better than me because you'll already go in knowing these things. Little quick disclaimer, I'm just one guy. I don't know all the things, so this is just what worked for me. It may or may not work for you. Kind of do some research and check it out and let me know. Cool, let's get it. Also, I'll say things do change based on the country you're coming from. So I'm coming from the USA. If you're not coming from the US, number 1 and 2 might not apply to you, so you can feel free to just kind of skip to number 3 on the bar below. Just us Americans here, let's get it. And let's get down to brass tacks. We're gonna talk about taxes. 8802. 8802. How is it so hard? It's only 3 pages. So the 8802, I'll probably make a bigger video about this just to help out longer in the future. But the gist of it is you give 80 bucks to IRS online, then you fill out a form and you mail it into them, and then you wait months and months, and then you call them, and then you fax it in again, and because they didn't get it the first time, so you give it to them, and then you wait months, and then they send you back a 6166 form that you give to your school here in Korea, and now you ain't gotta pay no taxes. Pretty nice. It just takes a long time. I'll be honest, go ahead and just start filling this out right when you're approved and you know that you will get a school. But before you're placed, when you're accepted, start filling it out. Just put down the address of a family member or a friend who lives in the US with a permanent address there. They'll be able to get your 6166 form back, and it'll just make the process easier. Don't try to get it shipped overseas or anything. Just get that ball rolling as soon as you can. Also, you can apply for multiple years. So go ahead and just put down for 2-year period. That way, if you decide to stay in Korea for another period, or you're like me, you came in August and you'll be paid in both 1 year and the beginning of another year, you need 2 years. So go ahead and put down 2 years on your 8802. This next one, I just found out. So you'll be in Korea and you'll get a Korean phone. You'll figure that stuff out. I'll probably make a bigger video about Korean phone service too when you're starting to navigate some of that, tell you a little bit about what I did. But you'll have a Korean phone plan, so calling numbers back in the US is international and they'll want to charge you for it. I don't know why you want to call home. Maybe you're trying to call the IRS for reasons, but whatever it may be, I just found this out and it seemed to work well. The Google Voice number. So you can sign up online and you can get a US based number, and it lets you call places in the US just like if you were in the US. How does this work out? You have to use a VPN, virtual private network, in order to kind of use the internet as though you're in the United States. So even though you're in Korea, you use the VPN to get on in the US, and then you use your Google Voice number to call literally your friends and family their phone number or this phone number as if you were in the US, and you don't have to pay a fee. The only thing you gotta do is there's 2 things. You gotta have the VPN and you gotta sign up using a US number. Thankfully, if you're back home in the US right now, guess what you got in your hand? You got a US phone number. Go ahead and sign up and then you'll be good and you can take that with you. Also, the VPN thing, It's pretty common you're gonna want a VPN while you're over here. All the teachers I know have them. It allows you to watch Netflix as if it was back home and kind of just access other things that are region locked and not in Korea yet. Disney Plus used to not be in Korea. You used to have to VPN. Now they do have it in Korea, so it works out there. I'm sure there'll be other reasons why you'll want a VPN. Google Voice in itself is good. For VPNs, I use NordVPN, and this video is not sponsored. I'm sure there are better VPNs around. I just use Nord. I looked up some other YouTuber or something, and they give promo codes all the time, so I signed up for a whole year of it. But you use the VPN, you get on, you click on something in the US, then you log on your Google Voice, and now you can call people as if you were in the US for free. It's kind of sounds too good to be true a little bit. I've been joking about the IRS, but it's also good for friends and family that you can't really call on Facebook. Maybe they don't got an Instagram, maybe they didn't do WhatsApp or Snapchat. Just different people. You can call them up and it works out pretty well. Tip number 3 that they didn't tell me in orientation: download a copy of your school's textbook to a flash drive. Also, welcome back to my non-US friends. Every school seems to have, if your teacher have a textbook, they'll have an online version of the textbook. And that's what all the teachers were telling me to use, except for there's tons of buffering, or sometimes I'd walk into the school and just for some reason that day, the internet wouldn't work. And if I was relying on the textbook online like I just can't use it anymore. So what I later found, some teachers had downloaded a copy to have offline, and I was able to plug in a flash drive and just copy over those textbook files on my flash drive. Now I carry that with me, and I don't care about the internet or whatever is going on. I've got it all on a flash drive. Easy peasy. Number 4, calling a Kakao taxi without having to enter a credit card. Korea has an incredible public transportation system through the trains and buses and little taxis and stuff like that. Honestly, 90% of the time here, I can just use the buses and the trains and I don't have to call a taxi. But sometimes if you want to get somewhere super quick or you need to go somewhere that's kind of out of the way, you need to call a taxi. And they're not too expensive. But for whatever reason, maybe when you first come here, you don't have a credit card or you don't want to set it up or what might have you, you can actually use the app to call a taxi without paying. Just go on here, punch it in, put where you're heading from, where you're heading to. On the screen where it wants you to put in a credit card, just swipe to the right or choose select payment method and click pay to driver. This way you can pay cash, you can maybe even use international cards, and you don't need to have a Korean credit card. And finally, the last thing, number 5, if your name on your ARC has 2 lines, you have to put a dash when verifying your ID online. What does that even mean? When you first get here and your documents are getting processed, after about a month, you'll get your alien registration card, or basically your Korean ID. This is what the ID you're gonna use all over the place. Looks like this. When you're trying to verify your ID on a portal like this online, and get used to seeing it, because you're gonna have to fill it out a lot when you try to do anything online, you have to type in your name as shown on your ARC. But what they don't tell you is if your name is long like mine and gets pushed onto 2 lines on your ID card, there's a hidden dash where the new line starts. So inside of typing that name, the one that's broken onto the 2 lines, put a little dash there when you're typing it in for your ID verification, and it'll work. Now, if you can remember that, you won't be like me, excited because you've been waiting a month, finally got your ARC, finally got your phone number, and you're trying to order that sweet Kyochon chicken that gets to your door in only less than 10 minutes, only made possible because some middle-aged Korean man broke every traffic law and ran every red light on his little moped to get there as fast as possible, but you're frustrated because that's not happening because you can't get past the ID because you didn't know you had a dash in your name. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's weird. Put the dash if your name has 2 lines. If you got a short name and it's not like this, you don't got to worry about it. So there's that. Those are 5 things that may or may not apply to you that I didn't learn at orientation that were frustrating for me. If you're coming from the US, get that 8802 form in early and put somebody's address who lives in the US. That way they can get the 6166 form for you, easy peasy, while you're over in Korea. Number 2, you want to get a Google Voice and use a VPN service. That way you can talk to homies back home as if you were in the US, all for free. Number 3, download a copy of your textbook, put it on a flash drive and carry it with you class to class. That way you don't have to worry about online internet issues. Number 4, order a taxi on Kakao Taxi without having to pay with a credit card in the app. You can swipe over, click pay to driver, pay cash, and I think they can take foreign credit cards most of the time. And number 5, if your name on your ARC has 2 lines, you have to put a dash when verifying your identity at the point where your name is broken onto those 2 lines. If any of this is helpful, please let me know. If you like it, you can like it. Whatever it may be, it always makes my day to see comments, people subscribing, and just generally feeling like they got value out of the videos I make. It's nice. So until next time,